I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Chairman's update. I want to congratulate the boys basketball team for a great season. They gave us quite a thrilling season and we're proud of them and all our sports teams, so go Tigers. I thought the budget presentation to the Board of Finance went well, as usual. I had hoped there'd be more citizens in attendance. But hopefully they were at home watching it on YouTube, but more likely they were watching the game. Which was important too. Next up are the weekly Thursday night Board of Finance workshops that start this week at 7 o'clock in the Snay Room at Town Hall. They will also be on Zoom, so you can participate. Please do, because we will need your support this budget support. We need you to help us get this budget through in its entirety. As I said during my presentation at the Board of Finance meeting, or the public hearing of the budget, every dollar in that budget is a necessity. We can't afford to take a hit like we took last year. And usually it's not the first meeting that they give us a heads up when the Board of Education is going to be discussed. But for your own edification, it is for those of you who live in Thompson, the Board of Education here, and for the students and others that live in the town of Thompson. It's interesting to listen to what the town has put forward in their line items. Also, last, I'm looking forward to this year's production of Peter Pan. If you haven't already done so, please go online and buy your tickets. There's also a place to make an additional donation to the drama program. So if you are feeling generous and want to help this wonderful school-wide program succeed, think about giving a little extra here. Okay. Next up, I'll entertain citizens' comments. Any citizens on either in the audience have comments to make? Any citizens on Zoom want to make a comment at this moment, this time? Comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our student spotlight. We have a liaison report and our student spotlight.
All right. For the March 2024 Board of Education Liaison Report, we have.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Absolutely. For the March 2024 Board of Education Liaison Report, on 3/4, we have the parent-player meeting for spring sports. On 3/5, the CIAC state game for the TMHS boys basketball versus Plainville home where they won. On 3/5, the NEAS collaborative conference visit. On 3/6, the Pops concert, which was a hit. On 3/12, we have the cereal challenge. On 3/13, we have the TMHS Pride Day. On 3/14, we have the FAFSA night for seniors. On 3/14 and 3/27, the TMHS Library presents Women's History Month movies. On 3/15, the TSL team will meet with local government officials. On 3/18, the parent-teacher conferences will be happening from 5 to 7 p.m. From 3/22 to 3/23, Thompson Schools presents Peter Pan Jr. We hope to see you all there. And 3/26, we have the ECC Leadership Conference. And on 3/27, we have the SATs for the juniors. Some other news highlights is that several students were involved with the NEAS Collaborative Conference. Melanie Noonan and Aaron Bigglehop gave a student-led tour to the visiting team. Nevaeh Richardson, Joel Majorowski, Eric LeVay, Keegan Stahl, Jackson Santos, Brianna Martin, and Estella Fritas met with other members of the visiting team and shared some of their experiences and educational artifacts. We would also like to thank the parents that volunteered to meet with the visiting team, Mr. Poplowski, Miss Lewis, Mr. and Ms. DeFilippo, and Miss Senos. Another highlight is Midnight Madness, where we had a funny comedian come. We had two of them actually, which was great. We had an ice cream bar, pizza, a bounce house, and a bunch of fun activities where definitely got pied. For TMHS sports, the TMHS girls basketball ended when they got into the first round of the state's games. They played hard and we're very proud of them. And the TMHS boys season ended with their in the second round of the state's games. We're very proud of them. They've made it very far, and we can't wait to see what they will do next year. Spring sports registration has begun, and the parent-player meeting was on 3/4, where rules and guidelines were explained to parents and players, as well as juniors Jackson Santos and Luke Senos talked about ECC diversity and how we are all a team. And for student voice, during the February student council meeting, there was concern expressed over the lack of availability for feminine products in the girls' restroom. Now girls are able to access products in the restroom with and when they need them.
The Turtle Student Spotlight of the month of February 2024 was Patricia Peterson. She could not make it tonight, but we're still going to read it. Each month, Turtle Memorial High School Student Spotlight Program recognizes a student who has demonstrated outstanding achievement, character, leadership, attitude, and/or contributions to the school and community. February's Student Spotlight honoree is senior Patricia Peterson. While consistently achieving high honors throughout high school, Patricia has taken a leading role in many school organizations, including the Student Spirit Association, National Honor Society, and FBLA. In addition, Patricia enjoys volunteering at Day Kimball Hospital during the summers and bell ringing for the Salvation Army during the holiday season. Patricia was nominated for the recognition by classmates Kaylee Beck, Avery Butler, Jordan Butler, Eric LeBake, and Noah Rascott. Kaylee says Patricia is a friendly face to the whole school. She is friends with so many people and has a fantastic sense of humor to brighten your day. She completely runs the publication of Tiger Times and SSA newsletter. Avery adds that her friend Patricia works incredibly hard at everything she does. Patricia is truly someone you can always rely on. Her kindness, personality, and sense of humor always brightens my day. I couldn't ask for a better friend. I am very proud of all of her accomplishments. Jordan continues, saying that Patricia never fails to brighten everyone's day in her sarcastic jokes and contagious laughter. She gives and gives and gives without ever asking for a single thing in return for an ounce of recognition. She will always listen and have the perfect responses to every single rant or conversation. Patricia perfectly embodies what it means to be a good person, and I can say without a doubt that she is extremely deserving of this recognition. Eric comments about Patricia. Patricia is one of the most considerate and thoughtful people I know. She is always able to make light of a situation. With her lighthearted attitude and her ability to support others in their time of need, Patricia is a perfect person to seek help from when faced with an obstacle. We are all very lucky to be able to call Patricia a friend. Finally, Noelle says Patricia is a hard worker, getting good grades and doing her best at the work she completes. She is a good friend and takes the time to check in on you. Patricia is organized and manages her time well. She is caring and willing to help anyone who needs it, whether it be schoolwork or someone in need. Patricia was also nominated by 2 teachers, Miss Williams and Mrs. Willett. Mrs. Williams says Patricia is very deserving of spotlight recognition. She is kind, funny, intelligent, and dependable. She is a person who quietly goes about getting things done, and she is always willing to step up to help. For example, last year when the SSA decided to publish a monthly newsletter, Patricia willingly took on the role of editor-in-chief, and under her leadership, the group produced an excellent monthly newsletter. Patricia leads by example as she demonstrates how a strong work ethic and respect for herself and others produces excellent results. Mrs. Willett adds, Patricia has demonstrated an excellent academic performance throughout her time at Turtle Memorial High School. While contributing a great deal of her free time to making her school community a better place for others, Patricia has spent countless hours giving of herself in this way. It's no big surprise that she was the first student of the class of 2024 to be accepted to college. When asked what motivates her, Patricia says, I would say that I am motivated by a combination of both my parents and goals that I have set for myself of what I hope to be able to accomplish one day. My parents have taught me to do my best in whatever I do. They have always pushed me to do the best that I can be the best that I can be, and encourage me throughout everything I do. Patricia plans to go to college for nursing, and she hopes to eventually become a nurse practitioner. Finally, Patricia's message to her school and community is, always try to do things that are out of your comfort zone. You will begin to grow and become more confident. Once you start doing things that you are afraid to do and are out of your comfort zone.
All right, we're going to move on to some Board of Ed appreciation. Since it is Board of Ed Appreciation Month, we're going to start with a letter that Megan and I wrote. So, dear Board of Education, we want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude for all the hard work and dedication you put into ensuring the success and well-being of our students and schools. Your tireless efforts in making important decisions, providing guidance, and creating a positive learning environment does not go unnoticed. Your commitment to education and the betterment of our community is truly inspiring. It is because of your unwavering support that our students have the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive. Your vision and leadership pave the way for a brighter future for all.
Thank you for your endless dedication, passion, and for always putting the needs of our students first. Your impact reaches far and wide, shaping the minds and hearts of our future generations. I am grateful for everything you do and the positive influence you have on our school and community. With heartfelt appreciation, Megan and Tara.
So we would like to present you with some certificates and some flowers. Even though Mr. Angelo isn't here. Yeah.
Their names are on the certificate.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you put them in
You put
order.
it in order.
Perfect. Thank you. I should have known. Making sure.
Thank you.
Amy, they're not you.
It's organized.
Danielle, they might have careful. You have one up on you.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you, girl.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next order of business is approval of minutes from our February 5th budget meeting, our February 12th regular meeting, and our February 21st budget meeting. Would you like to do these separately or yes?
Motion to accept February 5th, February 12th, and February 21st, first meeting minutes as they stand. That's-
You're going to do them together,
I will second that.
okay? All right, any discussion, having a motion on the floor now, discussion.
February 5th, under citizens' comments, since you can't provide your resignation verbally, would we
Pardon me?
remove that? Mr.
Remove what?
Angelo's comments under citizens' comments,
Struck.
are they?
Mm-mm.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. I just figured I'd ask.
Right.
Mhm.
Amended motion.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
yeah, that's right.
can we? He said it,
He said it,
doesn't make it valid, but it's
right, that's my question,
Has to be in writing.
right?
right,
Yeah.
but it's here in the
But it's
minutes.
here in the
Because
minutes,
he said it verbally, doesn't
Right.
mean it's not legally binding, or it isn't legally binding, but
right,
the fact that he said it doesn't stay in the minutes.
The
Right.
minutes are accurate.
right,
The
Correct.
action,
right, that was my
And
only
it does express his
sentiment.
sentiments of the day.
I don't know, do we want to publicize that though?
I mean, the recording's already out there, can't?
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
Well,
then we could
yeah.
add to it that Bill Kowski said he would talk to him the next day, and then that would satisfy that.
okay,
I think it's also fair to note that we have not received
Received,
any such written
No.
right,
communication
at this time,
as a resignation as of this time.
But that's not part of the minutes because that didn't
I
happen
understand.
at the
Right.
meeting.
right, but this
But
did,
Bill did say he would
Yeah,
talk to
Bill
him.
said
the next
that.
day,
Yeah.
okay,
And we all heard that.
so we'd like to make that amendment.
some people's comments that there was a resignation and nothing's happened, I just
Right.
want to make sure that,
Yep,
Okay,
Yeah,
any other discussion on the minutes? Now, we all do know that there has been no written resignation,
Mhm.
and Tom is planning on coming back. Okay, hearing no further discussion on the minutes. I will put the motion to the floor for a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes, for those three meetings, February 5th, February 12th, and February 21st, say aye.
I,
Any opposition, say no. Any, yeah,
Abstentions?
right. Or- Okay.
Abstention, yeah.
Abstentions. Say you abstain. I'm gonna abstain from the February 21st because I was not here and I was not on Zoom. Okay. Okay. So now we can move on to our subcommittee update. Heather, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so we just had a meeting before this meeting for the communications subcommittee. We had a bunch of things that we discussed. In general, we talked about some fundraising opportunities for spring sports. We talked about marketing of the pathways for the Turtle Out pathways and the potential future reading academy for the elementary school. We talked about the Did You Know campaign that we do on the school's Facebook page. The upcoming second annual Turtle Lot Leadership Roundtable that's happening this Friday. We did some brainstorming regarding communications for the budget season coming up. And then some new initiatives such as potentially an athlete of the week, as well as college acceptances and decision showcase kind of ideas for the Facebook page and or the website. And we have another meeting coming up on April 8th at 6 p.m.
Yes.
is there not currently some kind of a college acceptance like board? Well,
There is a
probably
board.
Bulletin board. I'm
Yeah,
sure,
they,
but-
they have a bulletin board with
Right.
the pennants and as
Yep.
acceptance coming in, but one of the things that we had seen that a lot of the area high schools are doing is having either a photo of the student and where they've been accepted, or just promoting all of the different colleges to where
Right.
students have been
Right,
accepted.
yeah, so, yeah, 'cause people who don't walk the halls would like to see.
Exactly.
Great. Okay,
Um,
awesome.
In addition, one of the things.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, and one of the things we also saw was Ellis in particular does something special for job opportunities. And since we have some of that happening at Turtle Lot with the CNA program, we already
Yep.
have one person who's got a job opportunity at Day Kimball right out of high school. We thought we wanted to celebrate those two.
Fantastic.
That's it.
Thank you. All right, Superintendent Smith, will you review the enrollment report?
I will be happy to, Chairman Herbert. So we only have a discrepancy of one student. Last month, we had 856 total students in the district. This past month, 855. That discrepancy came from Marriott Fisher. We are at 379 students. Last month, there were 380. We hold stable at the middle school with 264 students and stable at the high school with 211 students.
I have
Yeah.
a question. I was looking through the detailed part of the ins and
Yes.
outs.
Mhm.
And I noticed there were two 12th graders who went to homeschool.
Correct.
What are the ramifications as far as getting a diploma leaving in March of your senior year?
They won't be getting one from us unless they finish their credits.
Right.
So if they haven't completed their credits, the 25 credits to graduate, right? I'm looking at the high school team,
Yep.
25 credits. So if they don't have those 25 credits and they
Okay.
pulled out,
So that when I was looking through that, it kind of surprised or shocked me that would.
I will say that the team at the high school has been working diligently with those families, and that was a decision that a family chose to make.
That was those two 12th graders of one family? Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Sad.
you.
Well,
So that's my enrollment report.
okay, and you will give us an update on the NEAS visit?
Well, first of all, I know I let you folks know right away after we had the feedback section with the NEAS team, some of the highlights, but Cindy Willett and Michael Joyce, who have been spearheading a lot of the work with NEAS, are here tonight to go over the verbal feedback that we've gotten. We don't anticipate an official report until July, believe it or not. But they're here to give us their perspective of the feedback that they received. So Cindy and Mike, take it away. I will say that the effort that was made at the high school level with the faculty and staff pulling together in absence of, you know, a permanent principal, but Principal Granato helping out. We pulled off, and Danielle doing a lot of the back end stuff with hospitality. We pulled off a very nice visit.
Before you guys start, quick question. What kind of personnel comprises the NEASC team? Or are you gonna be? Okay.
No, it's really cool because, you know, they're fellow educators coming in as well as, you know, a former educator turned, you know, NEASC professional. But we had a principal of Old Saybrook High School. We had a special educator who also was getting her 092 from Bristol Central, a math teacher from E.O. Smith. Let's see, Mary Lou, where was she from? Stonington was. I don't remember her position, teacher from
English teacher.
English.
Actually, Ed is a business teacher.
Why is that?
He's in our Perkins.
Okay. See what's with Patty, but yeah,
So it's functional, they're functional teachers.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, of course,
Excellent.
Mike and I have been on visits
Oh,
ourselves,
excellent.
and it's just, it's such a win-win. Because you get to see what other schools are doing, and we hope to go on a decennial visit before ours coming up, so thanks for asking that. Danielle, I know I sent you a presentation, but it's okay,
I have not seen it. My friend.
and that's totally fine. We
Can you
have
call it
we
up
have our
if I
notes,
have
and
it? Sure.
feel free to even just share it with the board after, it's fine. But thank you. So Mike, you want to take it away?
Sure. Well, what happened is we wanted to first review the process, and first is the self-study, which is what they came to verify. And we started working about a year ago on the self-study, but really got busy with it last summer. Writing the school and community report and divvying up the different standards that they have. And then we were able to assign to different groups. Once the staff returned in September, we went over each of the 5 major standards that we asked to be looking for, and tried to get the staff to kind of wrap their heads around what they're looking for, and then to try and think of where they felt on the continuum, looking at the rubric that we asked provided, where it comes up. So we started with that, and then pretty much every other week we had our afternoon meetings, and we had broke it up and started collecting evidence based on it. Tried to on a department level, so we only had, you know, like 8 or 10 responses. And then from there, the committee broke up into, you know, 1 or 2 people that wrote each of the 5 reports. And then the staff had to read all the reports and then vote to approve it, which we were able to do just in time to send it off to the team. And they wound up getting 1 weekend, really. He wanted 2, but I think by the time he actually sent it, we sent it to him, but he didn't send it to them. So they had like 1 weekend to look at it. And then they came in. So that would be where we are. People from NEASC came in on Tuesday. We took them on a tour of the school. Students showed them around. They observed some classes. They pretty much were looking for, really just in that one day, kind of everything we had written kind of ring true to them. Do they see things that maybe we had missed, or things that we thought were, some things we were concerned about, they were less concerned about. So that was good news too. And then on the Wednesday, the second day, they had most of the report written. And they sat down with Ms. Bernardo, Mrs. Smith, Cindy and I, and the rest of the people on our steering committee, and they kind of went through the what they had seen.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, there are 5 standards. And within each of those standards are multiple, 35 principles plus 8 what are called foundational elements. And the foundational elements are principles that we must meet in order to continue our accreditation. And the others, they like to see, progress. They call them principles of effective practice associated with each of the principles. And so, we wrote reports that showed the degree to which we align with each of those principles, including the foundational elements. And there was a great deal of cooperation to get that done, as Mike mentioned. So last summer, we started with writing what's called a school and community summary, which is a lot of demographic information, so they could get a good sense of what the makeup of our town and school looks like. We gave an orientation to the staff on the first day of school, really unpacked the standards and the principles, that everybody understood what those principles of effective practice are. We wrote what's called a look back report. They asked for like what we have been focusing on coming into the visit, what have been our priorities. We distributed surveys to parents, students, staff, which then created some of the evidence that we used to back up, our claims in terms of our alignment with the principles, or, areas for growth. Wrote the reports. The steering committee, along with the self-reflection committee, did that work using evidence that we collected from the staff and the students, and of course the parents as well. We were commended for how extensive our evidence collection and how well written our reports were. So that makes us proud, and there are good reasons for that, including what we were given for time to make sure we had a job well done. After we collected the evidence and wrote the reports, we really evaluated where our strengths and areas for growth lie, and created strengths and areas for growth for each standard, as well as looked across the standards and created what are called priority growth goals. They recommend that we create 3 to 5 priority growth goals. So we've created 4, and we'll be sharing those with you in just a few minutes. Of course, all the arrangements had to be made for accommodations and food, and a lot of help was given to us. I have a list of thank yous in just a second. And then of course the schedule for the visit, which included multiple meetings and coverages and everything else. So a lot of teamwork involved with getting this done. And of course we have still plenty of work to do before the decennial, but we just went over a major hurdle, let's put it that way. So just a few thank yous we'd like to do publicly tonight. The Board of Ed, Mrs. Smith, for really supporting this work. We are very fortunate to have such a supportive leadership in our town. So thank you so much. The students, the parents and staff for taking part in the surveys. The staff for just the strong dedication to providing evidence for the reports and the evidence collection. The tech department for their assistance in getting us ready for the technology to suit the needs of the visiting team. Danielle and Melinda for arranging all those accommodations and meals, all the hospitality stuff, do it so well, and they really were so pleased with the comfort and welcome that they felt during their visit. The gift bags as well, they felt really touched by those. Of course, Chef Zentgraf and his culinary students for providing and serving a delicious lunch for the team while they were here. The students for Melanie Noonan and Erin Bickelhop for organizing and leading the tour of the school for the visiting team. I think Mel said super awesome about 5 times. And Erin, Erin, he told every teacher as we walked by that, oh, there's my favorite teacher. There's my favorite teacher. They did just a great job. The parents that took time, I know Megan and Tara mentioned them, but I'd like to mention them again. Mr. and Mrs. DiFilippo, Ms. Stenask, Mr. Poplowski, and Ms. Lewis all came in, took time from work, came in and gave their very valuable, we need parent input on this to know, where we lie and what we need to be working on as well. So we're really grateful for them. And we had more students, right, that met with the visiting team. They were mentioned as well, but mention them again: Nevaeh Richardson, Eric LeBake, Joel Majorowski, Keegan Stahl, Jackson Santos, Brianna Martin, and Estella Bretas. The visiting team commended the candidness of everyone that they interviewed. Everybody was straight up, which we really appreciated as well. District administration. nobody needs another meeting, and they were, set their time aside to meet and provide input for the visiting team. Donna in the main office for processing all the visitors and covering all the teachers throughout the school day for different meetings. And of course, Bill and his team did a lot of OT the weekend before, beautifying the school. Thank you, Bill, and to your team as well. I'm sure we're forgetting people. It's just a massive operation, and there was a great deal of teamwork. Of course, the steering committee for all of their hard work. Steering committee was she's sitting over there pretending that she's not here. Tracy Williams, Bianca Prouty, Mike Joyce and I, and then we had also some of our Jan Dupre and Kate Anderson really also stepped up to help out. So thank you to everybody. Now for some of the outcomes. As Mike mentioned, we will receive that conference report. I think we'll receive something sooner.
You're gonna get a draft in a
Get a
couple of
draft.
weeks.
Okay, so we.
And then we have to respond to the draft. And then it has to go before the NEASC Regional Committee in June at their June meeting. So the formal report won't come until July.
So we won't really be able to share a draft, right?
No.
Okay. So you'll get the formal
Yeah.
report as soon as we get it. But we do have, and they gave us permission to share what they have for, what we need to be focusing on our priority growth goals, which we want to share with you tonight.
And they also gave us quite a few comments that they also could share.
Yes. Want me to start with that? At our debrief meeting, I wish you all could have been there because they were really full of praise for our special school. And it was actually, to be candid, it was like emotional because for me anyway, it just, we all know how special this place is. But to hear it from a third party, and someone like Fran Kennedy, who headed up the visiting team, who's been in lots of schools, just to hear it from them was really validating. So I wanted to share some of that with you. As mentioned before, they really praised the preparation, the hospitality, but they really had a lot to say about our school culture. They felt that it's just a really positive place where students feel safe, where they feel like they belong. And that really means a lot to us because we do strive for that. They had high praise for how engaged our students are in the classrooms and how engaged and energetic our teaching staff is. They praised the level of differentiation provided to students in instruction, the use of technology by the staff to deliver their instruction. And I think with that, the availability of the technology in our district. They were really touched by how eager our students are to share how much they love their school. To the point where they said they were even trying to sell it to us. And, they really commended the candidness of, all of the responses to their questions throughout the visit. So, and they had some more to say. So nice.
Yes, they also talked about how they were impressed by the appropriate use of technology by students from what they had observed. They were very impressed with the whole Pride Day system that we've developed and fostering all those community connections. They were very, very impressed with that. They were impressed by the strong partnerships that have been developed between our school and outside agencies, including Day Kimball Hospital and Quinebaug College and some of our business partners that we've been working with. They've also were very interested in the development of the career pathways. We took them and showed them the fire science room. We took and showed them the CNA room. We showed them the culinary lab. We showed them the welding space. So we showed them how we are changing some of these programs. They're also really impressed with the creativity and dedication that we've had to adapt the building to meet all these pathways. So when you had a CNA program, so a classroom became a CNA lab like that, thanks to Mr. Birch. And They also were very impressed with the auditorium and the gym, with the artwork and the displays of all the record holders in the gym and the history. They picked up on the history of the Turtle Hat School.
So, obviously, we also have room for growth. And, with each standard, we have, areas that we want to be working on. There are 4 priority growth goals that will be our focus and that we will be reporting on more extensively at the decennial visit in 2 years from now. So our 4 key areas for growth that we determined and were validated by the team. Number 1 and number 2 are both foundational elements. So these are, these are our absolute musts. And I mean, of course, we're dedicated to all 4. But the first is that we will develop and implement a coordinated tiered intervention protocol for non-identified students. Meaning, students that are not on 504 or IEP plans, students that need that support. Your one-on-one or smaller group supports, time dedicated in the school day to provide that instruction. So we're already starting to talk about, how are we going to be able to provide that time to our students, as well as, a protocol for doing so. I can already see your question.
What does that mean?
So like RTI, it's preparing and putting processes in place to catch kids before they completely fail, and to give them extra support within the school day. And I know the team's already started talking about looking at the schedule. Is there a way to weave in some periods there that work can happen
Okay.
during the day?
Thank you.
And then our second, which most schools that have, that go through this process, you need to have develop a written curriculum in consistent format for all courses in all departments. And so, that's work that we have been working on. We have a curriculum revision cycle, and we need to just keep carrying, moving forward with that work and make sure that it is complete for 2026.
And the reason it's so difficult at Turtle Lot is because we have one teacher who might be teaching 4 or 5 different courses. So they're individually writing those documents. So we're on our way, but we don't have every single course up on the website.
And in addition to those 2, we're also looking at the school will provide more leadership and regular and consistent and protected time to allow teachers collaboration, innovation, implementation of new programs, professional learning, and the review of student data by March of 2026. So what they were talking about there is just time during the day to collaborate on things. The word that kept coming up on every single report is that we were doing a lot of this collaboration. We were reviewing student work. We were looking at other people's students' work just to kind of get a feel for it. But it was all happening very informally and in pockets. The best way would be for there to be a system so that, not just people who know each other or happen to have the same period do that, but just across the board, there is collaboration going. And that's one of the things they were looking for. And then the 4th one was a school will be provided with sustainable funds to ensure that the longevity of positions and programs that provide academic, behavioral, and emotional support to improve student attendance and graduation rates and to better ensure long-term success. One of the things that the committee was most concerned about, and they did talk to us the first day they were here, is that heard just on the tour, you've got a grant to do this. We've got a partner in the industry that helped us with this. I said, if this money goes away, how do you maintain those programs? So they are going to include in their report what they call a critical needs statement. Because they said, it's a help. Just you guys understand what's going on. But they really wanted to document it because they don't have to write a critical report, but they felt they wanted to put it in there as a critical need that the school needs to have some kind of support that's going to be able to sustain itself. So completing the collaborative visit. Oh, and by the way, I mean to tell you, this is the streamlined EF program.
Yeah.
Their self-study was 89 pages long. That was a huge amount of work.
But the last 10 years ago was probably, it was a file. So Deb's report would be, last year, so.
So those are our 4 focus goals. We went around and around as a steering committee. When we considered what our 4 focus area goals were, and that 4th one, really about the town providing sufficient funds. And we said to ourselves, well, how much control do we have over that? And it worries us to put that as a goal, but it is what it is. And we need to, we need sustainable funds, so preach it to the. So from here, we begin to work on our goals. Like I said, we've already started. We had a steering committee meeting today. Melinda has kindly found and is sending us to a NEASC conference in April. It's called The Power of Belonging, Supporting Student Success and Wellbeing. So we'll go and glean as much as we can from that and bring it back. And we'll continue to work and, towards that decennial visit in March of 2026.
There's a couple of comments that I don't know if you're going to read.
That's what we've got, boss.
Something else. So there's a couple of comments that I wrote down that I thought I nearly slipped out of my chair. The first one was that they were commenting about the students and the staff. And one of the comments was that the will and the skill factor are high here. And the other comment was that the commitment of the faculty and staff to meet the needs of students is nothing short of commendable. So those 2 statements were really, outside of saying the library media center is the epicenter of the school. But those 2 comments made me feel really proud. So it should make you feel really proud too.
I just have, is there a way we could share with the Board of Finance, one of the, especially that 4th goal in the reports and with the town?
Those are definitely before.
Yeah, so I think we need to pass this information on to both the
Yes.
town, Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance.
Well,
Okay.
wasn't that what they were saying, for that last one? That's why they were gonna write what they were gonna write, so you could use it
Yeah,
for that.
July is gonna be a little late.
yeah.
Yes.
No.
No,
It was that critical area where they had no recommendation statements to be made to the regarding the self-study or any of that. They had no critical areas to report on. The only critical area they had to report on is they felt that the lack of funding, but the sustained funding could impact the forward momentum with the career pathways and everything else that's happening at the school. And they asked, well, how did you get this? Well, grant funding. Well, how did you do this? Well, Mike got EWIB to donate, to contribute. So it's all this networking that we've been doing, and their concern is that where's the ownership on the town side to make sure these things are going to sustain itself.
But maybe not for nothing to maybe mention that to the Board of Finance, that you just did have this visit and this was one of the areas of concern, and it's something that is, our hands are tied. This is in your wheelhouse,
Well, I think I can write a letter informing them of the visit and the outcome.
Yeah.
It will be in writing. We will have it for leverage, but we won't have it until July.
right.
But good to put to give them a synopsis,
Right.
Yeah, they draft in a couple of weeks, but.
Yeah, I thought that you could use a piece of the draft once you approve it.
Yeah, when the draft comes, maybe we can lift it
I
from the
thought that's
draft.
why they were gonna do that piece.
Yeah.
that they took, what was it called that they said?
The critical area.
Yes, I think that they were gonna write something up so that you could use it for, I could be mistaken, but I. Yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, we did want to ask about questions, because I know it's 80 pages.
I have a couple questions, partially relating to this and partially relating to your experience. For the number 3, the more time for teachers to formally collaborate, where does one find the time during a busy teacher's day? You guys have time to work on that, but it just seems like, cramming.
Yeah, I
it
think we're
just-
gonna need to
It's
get
all in
creative,
Yeah.
scheduling.
Yeah,
you know,
to make it a formal.
like middle schools and elementary schools frequently have like team time, right? Where they can get together and talk about curriculum or student progress and growth. And, I think we're gonna need to really, that's why we already started doing it today, because gave everybody the rest of last week, but we need to get creative and think about how we can build that in.
Right.
Um,
So another question, so you guys have been on some of these NEASC visits, So-
Great.
okay, so how, obviously, we're a small school versus you've probably been to larger schools, maybe some small schools.
They're mostly small.
Okay, so how does our needs or our areas for growth and how does that line up with other schools, I guess? And our 89-page report, I mean, so, yeah, are we
Ours was
typical
very well.
in terms of? Well, I mean, that shows that you care, that you're working hard and you have an understanding of what you're looking at and what it shows a great understanding is what it shows. So that's to be commended for everybody. I mean, you guys worked really, everybody worked really hard on this and I gotta,
Can I have a comment just because as an outsider
Yeah.
coming in and what I, witnessed, and one of the things that the facilitator, he recognized how, though a small campus, how much that everyone pulls together and does above and beyond what they're asked, and it was pretty impressive. And as someone coming in I read the report before, the one that they submitted, and everything that was in, you could just see, I can witness now that I've been here, almost 2 months, month and a half. It is so clear, everything that he said is totally true. So there was no, you can really see the people going above and beyond, like that people don't see on an everyday. And I think it was very important that the board understands, like, these people, the steering committee, the staff as a whole, Superintendent Smith, Dr. Jones, for all that they do to make this high school what it is. The students were incredible. As an outsider again coming in, the welcoming has been amazing. I have conversations with kids that I don't know. So it really stands, like what the report said is truly what it is. So I think that's, a lot of times people will put their best foot forward, but I just want you as a board to know that that's a reality on this campus. It is really remarkable for what everyone does. So.
I mean, I think to answer your question, Matt, about, other, like, comparing to other schools, like I have a in-law that's a principal, some of the same issues that we're grappling with, like the question, how do you find time in your day for this really important work, for teachers to get together? You've probably heard of PLCs, professional learning communities, where, teachers work together for school improvement. Giving teachers time to do that kind of work versus duty work, for example, monitoring the bathroom, putting teachers to work in ways in which we can utilize them more efficiently, more productively. But how do you do that, right? When, it'd be nice to have staff brought in to do those kinds of duties versus having your other, your professional staff. But so these are issues that other schools, no matter the size, are grappling with as well. And I think, the standards, principles and standards, particularly the principles, they fluctuate with the times. The principles are ever changing, not completely, but they evolve to work for schools who are looking to do better and better and better and better. So, I think the principals themselves are evidence of what schools need to be working on.
The last time
For growth.
there were 12 standards. The committee was like 14 people.
Wow.
So it's a much scaled down.
Right.
5 people. I think what I had done is you read the report that you're supposed to be checking them. And if there's a good answer to it, and then as you go around, you look to make sure that's true. One year I was doing something to do with services. And the guidance department, I went 5, 6 times, and never saw a student at the guidance department. And I'm not kind of dinged about.
Right.
But that's the kind of things you do.
And, I'm finishing up my 7th year. When I first started, we had more staff at the high school. We had 5 ELA teachers. We had 4 teachers at every content area. And with those extra teachers, there were extra electives, but there was extra opportunity during the day for teachers for that collaborative time. Every time we took back a staff person because we had no choice, that impacted the flexibility within the schedule to allow teachers to meet and collaborate.
Yep.
And, besides money and location, teacher job satisfaction has to do with professionalism and collaboration. And that's the thing that I know stood out to the committee most of all, because they were catching each other in the hallways or however they meet. I know they do a lot of work on the phone and on weekends but it's one of those things that should be built into the schedule. So the team is going to go back to the schedule and see how we can weave that in. There was an intent this year at the beginning of the year to put those periods in, and there was a goof up in the system, and that didn't happen. At the middle school and the elementary school, common planning time does exist, team time does exist. So there's ways to weave it in. It's just that the constraints with having to offer so many classes so kids can get 25 credits to graduate and offering so many electives kind of compromise teacher time.
We're in a position where kids need time during the day to catch up on their work so that they can, stay on track to graduate.
Yep.
We also have teachers need time to collaborate during the day to get instruction, and deliver some new programs, to catch up on who's dividing out your curriculum, so who's doing what. And those things a lot of times can't happen after school.
Yeah.
Both of those things. So
Right.
somehow we have to carve out a little more time during the day.
I think, do you mind? So this is my first time going through this process. So this is every 7 or every 10
Yeah,
meetings?
that's a great question.
And,
Um,
and I know it's a multi-stage, multi-year review process, and once they grant their, accreditation, it's for how long?
Yeah, so this is much better because it was always just every 10 years they're coming in to give you a report card. And then you could get like on the naughty list and then, you're writing. So now they come in a couple of years before your decennial visit, when you say, okay, you continue to be an accredited school. They back it up now to 2 years before and say, these are the areas that you really need to be working on in order to sustain that accreditation. And so we know we have, those 4 priority areas for growth, 2 being foundational elements that we really need to buckle down and focus on. So it's much more of a growth mentality versus here's your report card, which is wonderful.
I think in the past, a lot of times what they would have done is at the end of the decennial visit, they would put you on a warning and give
Yeah.
you a list of those same things.
Right.
And then report back on the progress you're making towards it. But in the meantime, it's in the newspaper.
That you're not.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're accredited, but you're on warning.
On one.
I see.
You could even be on probation, still be
Mm.
accredited. Spencer Pass, they were on probation for 10 years before. They didn't get off.
Oh, no. So I run an accredited laboratory, and so it's similar, it seems similar because it used to be almost adverse, so we paid to be accredited, right, to a quasi-governmental authority. And it used to be adversarial almost, where they'd come in and, okay, they needle you on this and this and this. Now it's more of we want you to succeed, and you need to work on this, and they give you opportunities to figure this out before putting you on the naughty list, and that works, sounds like a very parallel. So 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I guess, I'm sure you got some yellow flags, maybe some red flags, but some yellow or red flags. And do they look at those things first? Or do you look at those things first?
So in the look back report, we did get to comment on, and we didn't have to go so far back, but rather 3 years ago when we made our last special report to DASC, what have we, where have we grown since then? Where are we still needy?
Yep.
We did have a couple, and that the structure time has been an issue. So, we're hoping to remedy that with some work moving forward, so.
Okay.
Kathleen? Was there any comment whatsoever on, I know in the past, they had made comments before about the floor and that was taken care of, and they made comments about the track and that's going to be taken care of. Was there any comments made in regards to the hallway lockers? Or anything regarding capital?
I think we might have mentioned that was going to be.
Yeah.
There was a comment that said that the building was well cared for. But they didn't specifically, well, because Bill, Bill does.
Right.
You know,
Does what he
it was
can
bleeding
with
that
everything.
day.
It's amazing the amount of what he's able to do with what we're able to give him every year.
Yep.
It'd be nice to have a little something in report form to be like, we still.
That will probably appear
It
in the
will.
report, in the report. It was just not something that they
Made
chose
at that-
to talk
Come
about.
up.
at a
Okay.
debrief.
And then 2 years from now, they will look around and maybe even a little more.
Okay,
But, and I did mention to someone that those lockers didn't look like that pre-COVID.
They shouldn't.
You leave a building unheated for a year, and that's what happens.
that's what happens, yeah.
So you pulled out the good duct tape, Bill.
They also had his plan. What he proposed, what he's been able to accomplish, and what was proposed, and then money was cut back. So they had that know from his perspective that was all in place, and lockers was one of the things that was listed. So that's all there for them to see, and they refer to that at any one point.
Okay,
No, they actually were very, very positive about the condition of the building.
Okay.
They made some very good comments, and they talked a lot about how safe the kids felt and how safe they felt the building.
The evidence, it's 89 pages, but the evidence is not included in that. There's a lot
Okay.
of, you gotta click this to go get the evidence to find this, so there's a lot more to it than what just the writing portion. There's all the evidence that have been collected and stored in different areas that, depending on what principle they had to go in and find more information to answer their questions, otherwise they came to specific people in the building.
okay,
It took me a full day to just upload the evidence that we had gathered, just to put it into the portal.
Upload the links to the.
The link
Yeah, yeah.
made them all PDFs.
I just have one. Was there anything specific from the last NIASC accreditation survey that is still hanging today?
Yes.
And what is that?
So
I'm sorry?
Funding.
Oh, okay.
This is the third one here that I've been on, and that one comes up every time.
she's right, specific, the science labs were noted in that last report, if I recall, the track was one of them.
Trying to remember, it's in the look back report.
Yeah.
And that's just not coming to the top of my head right now.
I mean, it's
Thanks
pretty,
for asking.
yeah, it's just 10 years ago to today, and we're still, if there's still something like science labs, that's still sitting, hanging out there.
Right.
I get it. Funding has been tight. We had it in the budget presentation last week, how a 10-year look and every year we get cut, but how many cuts eventually lead, death by a million cuts? Is that what we're looking at? And how do we get that message across that we can't take any more cuts? And that the citizens need to start taking care of this so it continues to be accredited. So I think anything we can see, anything that can be gleaned from 10 years ago, that was again commented in this. Even this cursory report or the draft that may come out will really help us. Gonna push that forward this season.
I'd be happy to put together, you know, a list of what they saw as, I know Deb's got the last 3 NEAS reports from 30 years ago. I'll go. Yeah, I'd be happy though to put together a list of what they cited 10 years ago and what it remains today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah, great question.
And
Thank
it's,
you.
and it's not for lack of everybody's trying, we know that, and I'm really hoping that this year it won't be hung up on the Board of Finance, but it's always comes down to who votes for it. So,
Yeah, but
yeah,
again, I think if it's something from 10 years ago, if it's something from 20 years ago that's still hanging out, I
absolutely.
mean, that's even more glaring.
Yep.
Right, and yes, we are graduating students, yes, students are going on to prestigious. Secondary universities after this, but how much better prepared could they be if we're giving them what they need to do such?
Agreed.
So.
That's a matter of getting out the vote.
Yep. And maybe mentioning things like, hey, this has been hanging out for 20 years and they're bringing it up again. Things like that tend to pull people awake.
Motivate people. Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For all
For
your
your-
hard work, to
Yes,
all of
thank
you
you,
that were
everyone.
involved in this project, really appreciate it. The Board of Ed really appreciates your efforts. Hey, next item up is our diversity, no, our curriculum revision cycle.
So in your packet, you received a
Big one.
yes, because we couldn't squeeze it on a smaller. But we,
By 11, I haven't seen one of these sheets. since I was in-
and we can read it. So just for your general information, the district does have a curriculum council. The curriculum council meets every month. One of the charges of the curriculum council is to maintain a curriculum revision cycle. And so we had to make some changes depending upon where we were at. And so, you know, just to go over just the critical areas, you know, a discipline is in curriculum revision means that the teachers are writing the documents aligned with the most current standards that are out there. In addition to aligning with the standards, they're also integrating the attributes of a portrait of a graduate. So you'll see in those documents how that particular curriculum or that particular unit lines up to the goals of the POG. And so after the document is written and it's up on the website, then the following year becomes implementation year 1. That's the year that they're going to take that new curriculum and they're going to implement it, teach it. Usually through that process in year 1, you find bugs in the curriculum and you go back and you revise. And so those are supposed to be fluid documents. Implementation year 1 or 2 is also when, if that particular discipline needs additional curriculum resources, that's where they drop in. The teachers either identify those resources or they're doing some research during those 2 years. Once implementation 2 has passed, then it's an evaluation year of the curriculum and what kind of tweaks we need to do with that. And then the cycle starts all over again. If we're to keep our documents current, we have to flow in that type of cycle. And so this revision is updating what we had in prior years. And this is a true reflection of where the district is at regarding curriculum. We should probably put this up under the curriculum website, Danielle, so that parents know where we're at in the cycle. So I just wanted to provide you with an overview of where we're at curriculum writing. In the past, we had curriculum documents all over the place. We had them in, I don't know, different platforms, Google Docs, everywhere. Now they're condensed into one place. If you want to look at a completed curriculum document, go to the website. That's where they are. And parents can click on them. There's more to the curriculum where there's curriculum resources, and assessments. That isn't, information we share with the public clearly. We're not gonna put assessments online, but that is also part of the revision process, that those assessments are identified and, additional instructional resources are identified. So it doesn't necessarily need an approval, but I just wanted to go over it with everyone, that it exists.
So for example, this year we are implementing curriculum in grades 9 through 12 in English and language arts.
We are,
Implementing grade 1 in science for grades 9 through 12, year 2 to grades K through 8.
correct,
Excuse me, in science,
yes.
in social studies, grades 9 through 12. For social studies. We're working on curriculums for health through visit, art, music through K through 12. And health from 5 through 12. And business, we're implementing a curriculum for year 1 in business, that's high school.
In some of the courses, but we couldn't, it was gonna be too cumbersome to list the
Okay.
exact courses.
Okay,
Um,
and we're working on a curriculum for foreign languages.
Correct, we have a new Spanish teacher this year,
Okay.
and so we needed her to get her,
Okay, so it's a busy
Be
year
wet
this
first
year,
and then
and
she-
from then on,
and then she'll move along.
thank you.
These questions?
Yes.
So we had a stupendous presentation last year, end of last
Science.
year. Well, no, in English and math from the huge curriculum revisions, right, from English and math.
And they will be that.
Yeah, so, but I don't remember receiving a presentation like, oh, we did have one for science. Did we
Yes.
not?
Yeah, we
Okay,
did.
Yes.
Yep.
As far as the other disciplines, we focus on the 3 core areas that are testing areas.
Yeah.
Social studies being a non-testing area. I've been working with the social studies teachers because there is no curriculum leader for social studies. So we're going to do a more comprehensive curriculum revision upgrade this summer and into next year. We really need to align the curriculum, literally kindergarten, grade 12, so that we're not repeating same topics in history over and over and over again.
so as a parent of students, my daughter mentioned, I learned all this repetitive stuff about American history. I don't know anything else beyond like the Civil War.
Correct.
You know, and all through 8 years of school, and so that would be very helpful.
There's a lot of overlap.
Yeah,
And so we've got to straighten that out. And the other big piece that we want to scaffold K-12, we definitely want grades 7 through 12 to be using the same report writing format. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done around that. And then we need to scaffold it up kindergarten through grade 8. Believe it or not, you can write nonfiction reports even in kindergarten following a certain process, but it has to be aligned. The work 7-12 is critical, that they get on the same page with the way report writing should be written and what's the acceptance, and ELA has to get involved there too. So that everybody's on the same page with what that should look like, because it gets confusing for students from
Mhm.
teacher to teacher.
yep. That's, now I remember the science one, because I remember Mrs.
Yeah,
Mrs.
science
Trudeau,
class.
saying, okay, you start with first grade and this, you're developing lab reports and they get better and better and more intricate, but it's all the same format,
It's the same
same
concept.
skeleton, yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Anybody else? Excuse me, I know I'm allergic to.
Oh, dear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm usually not, but this year the pollen's been killing me. Okay. We're gonna move on to our diversity plan overview.
I'm gonna turn that over to Michelle. The state has required
Yeah.
that we put a diversity hiring plan in place and we must submit it to the state by Friday.
Sure.
So we've been working on that.
That's right. we took last minute.
Michelle, actually, I mean, outside of having it on a piece of paper, we have been doing a lot of this work. So she's just expanding the work that she's been doing. So I'll turn it to you.
So the state has asked us to put together a plan to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion in the schools. When we looked at it, I did a lot of research on top of everything that we already do. And we are, at a point now where the things that I put on this report they're easier to implement because we already have the process in place. So for the first one, and it's a 3-prong, so it's recruitment, it's hiring and selection, and it is retention. For the recruitment piece of it, we've already used a lot of the tools that I would use normally, like we use the Handshake app, which is a tool that colleges across the country use so that we can gather our candidates. For me, it's looking outside of, and it's part of the first goal, is to look outside of the Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island area, look towards the New Yorks and the Philadelphias, and looking for historically Black colleges and highly populated Latina colleges. So we can pull that demographic to our town, which we are currently missing in our staffing. So that is one of the things that we're gonna look at. We're gonna look at putting our jobs out in those areas. The second one is hiring and selection. So we need to establish district-wide consistency on our hiring process. So that's creating interview guides that not only direct questions to the specific jobs that we're filling, but also are asking those equity questions and those diversity questions about the candidate's backgrounds. And for us to help our interview teams look past their unconscious bias, we got to get the candidate that fits in the mold, where we should look for the candidate that will stand out of the mold. And we need to look at what our student demographics look like, because they're going to relate to those new candidates in a better process. And the third one, which for me was I'll be honest with you, which was the hardest one for me to write, because I don't really have a direct hand in this piece of it. It's the retention piece of it, and it's actually to put forth professional development for our teachers. So I will rely on the PDAC committee to come up with new courses for diversity and equity and how we can teach our staff to, again, look outside the norm. It was an interesting process, I will tell you this. I actually enjoyed it. There's a lot of research and I got to actually look at a lot of diversity, equity, inclusion plans from across the country to really understand what we are looking for as a group. It's a lot of training, especially for the second piece, which is the hiring selection. We are looking to implement that one by the end of this fiscal year, so June 30th. I have signed up for several courses that are being offered through the HR portals and websites so that we can really start looking at how we can change our culture.
So this document does need approval from the Board of Ed before we submit it to the state. Okay.
I'm sure the state compensated us for Michelle's time, all that time. It was very nice of them to give us that mandate, so I'm sure they paid for it.
You know, taking freebies off is why.
Great.
I mean, do our teachers now, and this is a question that my husband had asked because of some of the problems that are going on in the colleges, like Liberty University just getting hit with a $14 million fine, and other universities have been hit with fines and things because of problems on the retention. It's kind of under retention, but are our teachers and staff taking their professional development courses now in?
Diversity and equity. We haven't started that, and that's why we're gonna bring it back to the PDEC committee and try to figure out how to weave that into our profile, our program for next
Well, I'm
year.
gonna go one step further because of the fines that are taking place and it's sexual harassment is.
Oh,
built in.
that's mandated. They
Okay,
can't
they
sexual
do take
harassment.
that one, okay, but so the diversity is
Everybody's
something.
compliant on that, right, Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the major issue in these,
Right.
in those fines and things, but. Yeah, and I told them that's like, I believe that one's, mandatory, but this is important too, because when I first started on the board. There was no diversity, well, okay, I can say there was no diversity, one graduate. That was a person of color. And as the years go on, it's becoming much more evident that Thompson is becoming much, much more diverse as a school for our small town. I mean, I went to Oxford the other day, and what a difference. Yeah, right, and what a difference there compared to Thompson, but for our small town, and from when I started. On the board, huge difference as far as the diversity, persons of color, different ethnic groups,
Languages.
languages,
Yep.
yeah. So it's, we are becoming very diverse, which is good for, I think, very good for our population, very good for our kids.
Yeah, more reflective of the world outside the town.
Right.
Really, yes, much more reflective. Anyway, so, okay, so we'll keep that in mind that is gonna have to start doing that. So do we need any special wording or just the,
No, that you accept the plan as proposed, and then we're gonna submit
okay,
it to.
so do I have,
I would like to motion that we accept the diversity plan as proposed.
Second,
okay, any discussion on this? Okay. All right, having a motion on the floor and a second, I will put that motion to accept this plan as proposed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, is Bill online? No, okay. All right. Motion passes.
I'd like to note for the record, I abstained.
Kathleen,
Please.
What?
I'd like to note for the record that I abstained.
Oh, you did abstain.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, motion passed, 6, then 1 abstain. Sorry, I didn't ask. So okay. We also have included. Where? 5-year capital plan. Where did that go?
So the 5-year capital plan spun out of the conversation that we had when we were building the budget. And, it was, I think it was brought forward as a good idea. Shouldn't we at least bullet out what we know needs to be repaired over the next 5 years so that the community is aware of that? So, Bill already had a spreadsheet that he's been working from for years. So we more or less translated that spreadsheet into a bullet format. However, we hadn't brought it before the board in a while. And Bill did use this as a draft when he did the tour the other night before the Board of Finance and town meeting. So I'm gonna turn it to Bill, because he knows this capital plan better than I do.
So I guess we could start by saying that this is a plan and that's all that it is a plan. Because as we all know, what we plan and what we actually do usually end up being two different things. So, I mean, item number 1 was Turtle Up Memorial High School lockers for this fiscal year, and we know that's already been cut. So that's just the way it goes. But if you look down through some of the things, for this year, we know we're going to get the track replaced. We know we're gonna get the entrance project replaced. We're working on lighting for 3 gymnasiums and the elementary school cafeteria. because the lighting was put in 2007 with the last building project. The fluorescent tubes are no longer available. I bought all that I could, so I probably have enough for another year. And then after that, our good basketball teams, we're gonna have to fit with carbide lamps because the pots are just no longer available. So there's a program that I'm working on with Eversource where we get it's a $100,000 project. We'll get a 25% instant rebate. And they'll fund the remainder at 0% over 5 years. And they'll roll that into our electric bill. Bill Staglis is reviewing it now, and if everybody's in agreement, we'll sign it, and then hopefully that lighting will be done this summer.
Sorry, Bill, I'm gonna interrupt you. Can we make note, and I don't care how we do it, with an asterisk or something, which one of these we're getting under special program or special grant or right, we knew the lockers were gonna be cash out of pocket.
Right.
The track started out as cash out of pocket, that ended up getting a $500,000 grant allotted to it. The entrance project is
Cash out of pocket.
cash out of pocket, but we can still apply for grants against that, correct?
We applied for the last round of grants.
Yep.
And we did not receive those.
Right,
If another round comes out.
Yep.
Then we can probably go back and try again.
and those grants, if I remember right from earlier discussions, can pay for projects.
They've
That
been
have already
previously done.
Okay, and
And
what's,
I believe they go back to 2013.
okay. I think it's important that, like, one of the things that the NEAS report said was sustainability of programs and funding. It's important to note how much of these capital projects are getting funded by grant or special program. We're not just turning to the taxpayer and saying, hey, fund an entire lighting project for the gymnasium at $125,000. We're looking for programs through Eversource where it's 0% financing and 20% discount and all that, so.
Okay, now since we know that the lockers got thrown out of the capital plan, we need to move them into 2026.
Yeah, good idea.
Right, so this
We
is,
can't
so
just drop-
again, just like, Deb spoke earlier of the document we've been living off of all of the last 15 years. And all of those projects, they're listed. And then when they actually get going, we put a start date on them, and then we can track the funds and, how long it went, but it has to be a living document because it changes.
Oh, yeah,
every
no,
day.
I agree. I agree with that, but we just can't say, okay, well, the lockers are gone. They're not gone. They're
Well,
going, they're
then they
gonna
have
move
to-
into
they have to be moved.
2026.
Correct.
And we're gonna hound them until we get it.
I think the other, sorry, one more. I think the other piece I'd like, and I don't wanna get this too busy, but when it was originally put on the list, right?
So you can see how many years it was.
How many years did we kick that
Oh,
can down the
The
road?
track's been on there for 20 years.
Right, no,
Right.
but right, the lockers have been on there for 2 now?
At least.
We've been requesting them for 2.
Three. Could be three.
But officially requested
Yes.
for 2, need to know they need to be replaced for 3.
And many of these lockers are older than we are.
Speak for yourself.
All right,
They're older than me, they're older than you.
We can put that in a different format, maybe a chart, and then put in
Fiscal year
when
2027.
it was,
27, first line.
another one of these sheets.
yeah, not that big though, yes.
All right, legal size.
Yep.
All right, continue, Bill, sorry.
So anyways, just some highlights that HVAC upgrades are listed for all 5 years because we've got a grant application in now
Right,
to try to get the first $13.2 million, and that's only phase 1.
yeah, okay.
So that's listed, all the way through. Obviously, without the grant funding, who knows what's gonna happen with that.
Right.
When you go down into next year, we put into upgrade security cameras. We started putting security cameras in this facility in 2010, I believe. So those are beginning to age out and, you know, much like Heather's IT plan now, it's time to start replacing those on a regular basis. The gym floor in the high school needs to be sanded down to bare wood and repainted and refinished, and that we've had, how long, Deb? Yeah, it's probably been 7 or 8 years that we've had that on our grand list of projects that's never been started. Longer than that. And, so next year, if in fact we move to a vet tech program, we're going to have to take one of those science labs that haven't been upgraded and reconfigure it so it'll be an adequate space for vet techs. Several years ago, we started to refurbish the older bathrooms in the school. We've done some of the ones in the elementary school, we've done one in the middle school, but there are still quite a few that go back to the 70s or even before. And that cycle kind of got lost in the mix of other things to do. The auditorium is up to be painted. Again, it's still a beautiful space, but when you look in, the gray painted floor is all chipped, the railings are all chipped. So what happens is people spend, you know, $25–30 million on a building project and it's brand new. But we're now 15 years into that and it's not brand new anymore. None of it is. So the following year after that, it's time to start thinking about roofs again. Because those are 20-year roofs. They were put on in 2007. And so simple math says that in 2027, we have to start looking at roofing projects once again. And then also the middle school gym floor, which has been, there's so much finish on that floor now that you almost can't see the paint anymore. And as Deb said, that's been since before I got here, so it's gotta be 30–35 years. And brand new track that's going in. Well, we've got the preliminary estimates on maintenance and we have to look at restriping it after 5 years, resurfacing it after 10 years. And then by the time you get through that second cycle, you're gonna need to look at stripping it up and putting a new surface down on top again. So again, these are all the things that they keep going on and on.
Sorry to interrupt again, Bill. So we had mentioned it when we first started going through the budget this year about specifically maintaining athletic facilities going forward and making that line item in the budget for gym floors, for the track, for all of this kind of athletic fields if need be. You know, there's gonna be some drainage associated with the track too, right? That's gonna have to be.
Yep.
All of that should be involved in that line item because they're specific to the athletic facilities. I think with the referendum, we caught the eyes and the ears of a lot of the town on where that stuff had been non-funded for maintenance or underfunded for maintenance. So now if we're showing that we're actually putting in a line item and it happens to get cut because we have general education that we need to fund, at least we had it in there specifically.
Bill plans on building that line for FY 26. We felt like this year, because the track hasn't been installed, we would kick it to the next budget cycle, but we have every intention of doing that.
And my other question on this would be for Mr. Steglitz on the bonding side. This is a lot of capital as we look out for the next 4 or 5 years. Is the town positioned to be able to bond these projects appropriately?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean
I
to
think
drop the
that
mood in the room like
I
that.
think if we were trying to float another bond, it would go over like a lead balloon anyway.
No, but the town has to be in a specific position to be able to bond a project, even if we're getting grant funding or even if something else is coming down the pipe on it. And I think it's important to realize that this is a hefty list and with the NEAS notes that just came through that we're maintaining this building as well as we're maintaining it with the funds we're maintaining it with. And there's all of this still on the list to do, and the town is not positioned to be able to bond fund the capital improvements that are needed is just an important note to put an exclamation point on.
We would need to bond fund it if we could just budget the maintenance on a yearly basis, and it wouldn't be, I'm just making up a number. It wouldn't be $15 million worth of stuff all at once if we could do $250,000 every year.
So there are, so to answer that, and you're right, so many people would look at this, maybe myself included, and say, painting? Painting should be a maintenance project. Replacing carpet, that should be a maintenance project.
Yeah.
And I would have to say, I would tend to agree with that.
Yep.
But if there's no funding,
No, I'm,
if the maintenance budget manages to keep the lights on and keeps the doors open, then the only way to get these things done, as we've done in the past with we did with the locker rooms, we did with the floors upstairs in the high school, is to kick them to the town and ask them to do it as a capital expenditure.
Yeah.
And sometimes we win, sometimes we don't. So that's, I mean, that's really it. You can see that if you go through the list,
yeah,
you can look at that list and it all comes down to the same thing. And then, by the way, if say we don't get the HVAC grant and that money's not available, then we have to consider that. And if a boiler goes in between.
Yeah.
So that's why, and Deb and Melinda both alluded to the document we've been working off of for the last 15 years. You'll see all of these projects and many more.
Yeah.
Are listed there, and it's always a matter of, all right, looks like we can do this one this year. And
right.
yeah, that's.
The only bad thing is that last year's budget and the FY 25 budget, we didn't take anything off the list. We didn't address anything. It's keep the lights on and the
Yeah.
doors open.
Yeah.
We've stopped painting.
Yeah.
Right.
We have, but we try to paint a few classrooms every year. We let the administrators say, okay, which ones are the worst? Try to paint a few classrooms and maybe a wing of hallways, or we did the middle school gym a few years back, and we did the middle school locker rooms a few years back, and I say a few, it's probably getting closer to 10 now. But painting cycles should be a cycle.
Yeah. Shouldn't be a question.
And
Shouldn't even be a question.
we start talking about carpets that need to be replaced, and I say this all the time, like, any of us have a carpet in our home, how long do you keep it there? We've pulled out carpets that have been here for 30 years.
That's completely accurate. That's completely accurate.
Well, the mold.
Yeah.
It could be.
Well, and that maybe that also should be said to the Board of Finance, we haven't been able to do standard maintenance painting. Because our budget isn't allowing us to
Keep
do
the
that,
lights on budget.
right?
Yep.
So this doesn't even talk about that, I think they need to have a wake-up call as to what our needs are,
And again, I'm hoping that it's not even a Board of Finance issue at this point. Honestly, I think it's a vote issue.
Right.
Because I'm hoping
Well, our
that
first
this Board
stumbling
of
block
Finance,
has always
I
been the
know,
Board of
I know.
Finance.
I'm hoping this Board of Finance will be
That's the second
different,
one.
hoping, so.
We'll see. I hope to, but then ultimately it's up to the voters to pass the budget. Because then
Yes.
it goes, if
Yeah.
it gets kicked back to the Board of Finance, then they don't have a choice. They've
Yep.
got to cut.
Exactly.
So will you be providing like this document or a facsimile of it for the Board of Finance, like as an
Oh, yeah.
appendix or something? Okay. Good.
I will probably attach it to that letter I'm gonna send.
Yeah. And the NEASC, yeah. One more quick question on
Okay.
Bill's list here. Hypothetically speaking, if we were to do all of this today, obviously, every year you kick something down, it increases the price 10%. Right? If we were to do all this today, how many millions of dollars do you think it'd be? 30, 40?
I mean, just the HVAC alone.
No, HVAC, just the HVAC is gonna be more than 4.
Okay, so that's, yeah. So,
Then you pay, like, 100 easy,
million?
Easily,
easily.
Yeah,
easily.
yeah.
And one you wouldn't have time to do it all.
No, but,
Well,
but
that's
it's,
very true.
right, but a lot of this stuff, we've been kicking it down, so, but if it was $1 million a year. You wouldn't, 10 years ago, yeah, but it's gotta be a cyclic thing, cause that's just how things work, sorry.
Well, and I think understanding that the maintenance window in this facility is June to August. For the
10
major,
10 weeks if we're lucky.
right, for the major projects, it's
Yeah.
June to August.
Is, so I think it's important too, if we can share the list with families because of the referendum coming. In order to, they have to vote, or they should vote, and this is why we need you to vote, is we have projects that we need to fund.
Exactly.
But none of these projects are currently on this year's.
Yes, but if we can get them,
Thinking,
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's what I'll say it over and over and over and over again. What kills us is people not voting. It's never the no voters. Well, it is the no voters in the end because we have too many non-voters. But we need to get those who aren't regularly voting to see the value in their vote. To get them to be regular voters, like they should know every May, they need to come out to the referendum and this is why.
what are we allowed to send and state in handouts to parents? What are we allowed to? As opposed, obviously you can't tell them how to vote, you can't, but, so we send this out somehow.
What are,
So I'm rolling that around in my head. And maybe I just do a general letter about the NIAS visit at the high school. Everybody's interested, right? Even the parents who are in elementary are gonna want to know
Yeah.
what the status of the NIAS visit was at the high school, because their students are heading that way. And weave that into a general letter, which I give a copy of to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. Just as an overview of what we put together for, the visit, what was the outcome of the visit, what are we working on? Here are some of the capital improvements that are, need to be addressed anyway. And kind of weave it all together and just do a general letter to everyone. Then I can do that.
I guess what happens with that, and I think it's great, but we lose the context behind lighting in all 3 gymnasiums. What does that mean? Why do we have to change the lights? I can still get light bulbs for my house. He can't get light bulbs for the
Those
gymnasium.
fixtures anymore, yeah.
Right, the entire fixture needs to get changed. That's not just go get another light bulb, that's not just we're trying to be more efficient, so use LED, that's can't get them anymore, he bought all he could buy, they're end of life.
Maybe reword it, replacement of outdated
I'm
lighting.
just saying, when things like this go out from a communication standpoint, some of the context needs to go behind it. Or you've got voters out there that are gonna go, yeah, they're gonna replace the lights. Okay. Well, I don't know what that means, but why, why? Because they want a prettier fixture in there? No, it's because it's a necessity at this point.
Right, or the gym floor, it's got 30 years of varnish on it.
Right.
And you can't even see the lines, like you said. It's hard, but it's hard to give too much detail,
Right,
so.
But Bill also gave a very informative, like, it was open to the whole town.
The
We had
board,
a very
yeah.
few people turn out to see the actual condition of the facilities. And I learned a lot, and I mean, he explained all of those things at that.
Yeah.
open.
Again, I think when we put things out, and whether it's this week it's 2025, next week it's 2026, 2027. Adding the context to some of those lines is very important. The lighting project needs to happen because the light bulbs are end of life. We're looking at it right now and it's 20% back from Eversource with 0% financing. That's available now from Eversource. Nothing's to say that that's gonna be available in 2026 or 2027. Right, that's
Those incentives change every year.
exactly. And the fixtures don't go cheaper every year. And the electrician's fees to put them in don't get cheaper every year. So,
If we get this, we're gonna start reselling the tubes that I already bought.
okay. I think the same conversation came up about a boiler. Boiler, we're gonna start selling
That's
those
right.
too.
Antiques Roadshow.
Maybe.
We'll take a crack at putting some descriptors there and then sending it out to the board and see what people think.
Okay, no, American pickers.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you, Bill.
is that it for bills? Move on. We have the administrators' reports now. We'll start with Ms. Granado, who's gonna report on the high school, her lot, and the middle
So
school.
I think the team did a great job of, kind of giving us an overview of the NES visit, which was very successful. You know, again, the faculty and staff were amazing, putting everything together. The report was outstanding. I can't thank enough Superintendent Smith though and Dr. Jones for, you know, when you really sat in that meeting, you could really see all the efforts that Superintendent Smith has done over the last 7 years. You could really see the impact that she has made. So I just want to add that in along with Dr. Jones. And things that they have done are outstanding. And the students are, you know, a testament to all the things that they've put in place and taken advantage of that. Congratulations to Patricia Peterson, the basketball team, but I don't want to take away from Deb. So that's it on the high school. Just the pop concert was amazing. Quite a difference from middle school to high school. Just saying, but it starts somewhere and it's starting at the middle school. So, and just a reminder that parent-teacher conferences are coming up on 3/18. So we definitely want parents to come out that are students who are struggling and, you know, to really meet with the teachers. It's an opportunity to sit down and kind of, so we encourage that. Do you want me to go on to the middle school?
Sure.
All right.
Do a report.
All right, now switching gears to the middle school. Again, the pop concert was amazing. Our
Wait a
fifth
minute.
graders are on. Our fifth graders are on track to turn out to be outstanding high school band, concert, choir, all amazing. And kudos to Nick Rell, who we just hired. He really put a different flair onto our pop concert. And you could really see the kids enjoying themselves. So I'm gonna highlight him and thanks to him for coming out and joining our team. He's been a valuable asset to our team. I also want to acknowledge our youth commission that has been working really hard along with our Health and Wellness Committee to put on a bike to ride to school, which nationally is happening on May 8th. So we're going to have a campus bike to ride to school. And also kudos to our teachers who have been working really hard and who are pursuing the assessment data and really putting that into the classrooms. As I make my visits, I can really see teachers working on the 5 questions that students were struggling with and they're implementing it into the classroom. So it's really nice to see. And also lastly, our athletic awards night. So excited to see all the parents come out and the kids receive their award. So a lot of positivity in the district of Thompson here at the middle school and high school. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, the cereal challenge is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yep. Larry was gonna stare on that.
Yeah, come
Okay,
on.
well, okay, Larry, you're up.
No, just, shout out again to the NIAS committee, Mike Joyce and you led, Deb Spinelli. Tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of effort, tremendous amount of stress. I mean, I know I say it all the time, it's not like a broken record. Teachers, educators work hard every single day. Everybody that's associated with education in this district works hard. So shout out to everybody. The elementary school has started their third trimester, about a week into the third trimester. Those little folks down there doing a good job. Pokemon Club, we started a Pokemon Club, so we're excited. That's a new and fun and exciting thing. Math lab continues to do well. Those students that meet the criteria to get into math lab, and we've had some parents that have been very pleased with the students' progress in math. Ellen Pratt has a Dulcimer club that meets a couple times a week. So hopefully in no time, we'll have a nice string section to that middle and high school band. Cereal challenge tomorrow, parent teacher conferences on the 13th and 14th. Please, we really appreciate parents' partnership at the elementary school, truly do. Shout out to the Tiger Pals for reading to the elementary students for Read Across America. Thank you to Trish Tupai for organizing that. I finally got pied on the 23rd in the gymnasium. I met in the cafeteria. I still have whipped cream up my nose. And then shout out, well, actually, I should say, we held a new kindergarten legislation information night. Mrs. Smith, Superintendent Smith, along with myself and a couple of the pre-K teachers held that. So that was a pretty good information session with the new law coming down the pike there. And another shout out to Trish Tupai for organizing Sheila Bear reading to students via Zoom on March 1st. Never too early to think about financial literacy. So we had all the students in the elementary school getting a book read to them about being financially literate. It's important.
TOG goal, by the way.
Yes.
Right. And then tomorrow, cereal challenge. That's it for the elementary.
Perfect. Dr. Jones,
Yes.
Chris?
Okay, so we have 855 students district-wide, of which 184 currently have IEPs. We have 17 students in the referral process, putting us at a total of 201 for a percentage of 23.51%, which is a slight decrease from last month, 23.83%. We have 77 students on the section 504. Our out of district went up by 1 as for a total of 21. Bradley School Windham County program is at 24. 8 of our students are currently in that program. We're still utilizing 5 vans to transport all of our out of district students. We have 7 neighboring districts that have access to the Bradley Windham School County program. The CDAC, the Special Education Data Application Collection, our Department in Pupil Services is currently at 100% compliant and all state reporting. I wanted to just give special recognition to my administrative assistant, Mrs. April LeVake, and all of her hard work. Our excess cost, all of our contracts have been submitted, updated. So we'll be all set for that. And then just open positions, 1 paraprofessional in Marriott Fisher and 2 in the middle school.
Thank you. Mr. Steglitz.
No change to the revised budget at 20.6 million, year-to-date spending, 12.1 million, which is 59% of the budget, 2 percentage points lower than where we were at this time last year. Year-to-date encumbrances, 7.9 million, which is about right on, percentage-wise with where we were last year. As of right now, our projected spending is at, $20 million or 97.1% of the budget, about 2% less than where we were at this time last year. These numbers are after our first special ed excess cost payment, which was received last month of $112,000. Unfortunately, stares at me from the side. Pupil services currently has a projected deficit of $159,000. Bear with me on this one because the explanation weaves a little bit. This is primarily driven by paraprofessional expenses, which are projected to be $179,000 over budget. As I'm sure all of you recall, the paraprofessional budget was reduced as part of last year's $1,050,000 cut to the budget. Unfortunately, student IEPs don't care about budget cuts, and they are required regardless. So those paraprofessionals were required to be retained. And I believe we actually had to hire 3 additional paraprofessionals on top of that, driven by IEPs. In addition, pupil services has been negatively impacted by expulsions this year and a higher level of critical threat assessments that were ordered during the year. I know we tend to think of the pupil services budget as special education only, but there are other elements to it. The last kind of finer point on this analysis is, well, wait a minute, Bill, these paras have been here all year long, you know, why is this issue popping now? And it's really because for up until now, outplacements were actually trending under budget, and they were trending under budget enough to essentially cover the paraprofessional overage. So now outplacements are actually projected to be on budget for the year. Obviously, they can no longer offset the paraprofessional overage. From an audit update perspective, pleased to report the financials are under partner review. It's always a nice milestone to reach. They expect to present them to the Board of Finance this month, towards the end of the month. And on the same phone call, when they let me know that, they started auditing the grants. So we're still getting audited, just a little different flavor of auditing. But so far, so good. They've actually picked ARPA, and they are doing some audit work in the cafeteria. So I've been working with Lisa Durand quite a bit on their selections for the grant audit.
Could I ask a little question real quick? The $158,866 that were over, is that correct?
Yes.
That you said was for 5 in total? How many paraprofessionals?
Oh, I'm sorry. The $159,000 is the projected overage for pupil services in total.
Right.
It's made up, what's driving that is we project paraprofessionals to be $179,000 over budget.
And that was for, you said it was for reinstating ones that were lost, but also adding more. So what was the total? Like total?
Couples, yeah, it was something like 8. If I remember.
Would be 11.
So 8 plus 3, okay.
Now, is this something we need to present to the Board of Finance? At this point, to warn them that we're gonna be running.
Well, as of right now, the district in total is still projected to be okay. As you know, you guys see this every year. That number tightens up every year. Right now, we're projected to be, it was $589,000 to the good. At this time last year, that number was $186,000 to the good. So year to year, although I would expect it to tighten up again, we seem to be in better shape. That's not a perfect measure because not everything's encumbered and things can change. Hopefully they won't, but things are trending at least in a better position than last year.
So what this 186 was is what you were reporting last
Right.
year at the end of
Correct, at
February.
this time. right.
Okay,
We actually ended, I want to say, $60,000 in the red
yeah,
or so. And from my conversations with the auditors, that has seemed to have survived at that level.
okay. I appreciate that, thank you. Heather, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, Bill. Well, we'll go to Heather first, since I called you first. We already heard from Bill anyway.
In the last 30 days, we had 250 tickets, 5 of which were town hall, the rest were the school. As far as hardware goes, we had 27 student devices repaired. 4 high school, 10 elementary, 11 middle school, and then 2 were just on spare devices. Some of those were screen damage, trackpads, some weren't charging, some of them were damaged by students, and others were just wear and tear over time. Some were covered under warranty, and then some were repaired in-house. Tyler and Bryce have been working on lights and sound for all the concerts and upcoming theater production. Danette submitted the federal civil rights report, so she's very glad that that is over for this year. I submitted, last month, I submitted 2 grants. I had Pegpedia grant, which is an educational technology grant in the amount of $80,000 to replace technology in the auditorium, including the projector, some Chromebooks, hoping I get those, and some network switches. So I haven't heard yet, but just wanted to let you guys know that that's what I submitted. And also E-rate I submitted for next year to cover network switches, access points, and some contract fees, which cover the like hardware damages to those. I always ask for a little bit more than what we have. It's a 5-year grant. I only have about 17,000 left to spend, but I never know what they'll really cover, so I just kind of have a good wish list going there. And then just working on scheduling next year in Power School, helping the guidance departments with that.
Okay. Okay, now Bill, it's your turn.
Okay. On a good note, oil consumption is down for the year. So there may be some avoided costs there at the end of the year. We've talked about HVAC to death, so we're not gonna go down that road anymore. We did receive confirmation that we have the funding for the walk-in cooler, and that equipment has been ordered. The plan is we're going to start some preliminary work over the April break. They said probably 8 to 12 weeks for lead time on the equipment. We're still waiting to hear about the funding on the welding equipment, because ideally I would like to get a head start and get some of that work done over April break as well. It's not too much other than that. We've been working with the contractors on both the track project and the door entrance project. Track is due to start May 15th. I think the door project may be delayed a little bit because of lead times on equipment. And the only bad news is that we put a bid on a used truck from the Muddy Brook Fire Department that would have been great for a plow truck here, but unfortunately somebody did a better job than us. So we did not get that.
Okay, well, so Bill is looking to see if he can find a used vehicle, because we actually do need another truck. We don't need a new truck, but we need a functional truck that can hold a plow and a sander, right?
Preferably at the same time.
Same time.
Michelle G.
How are you? So as Dr. Jones said, we are looking to hire self-study paraprofessionals at the time, and we do have an opening currently posted for the high school principal. I am working on the panorama results for the next week's special board meeting. Open enrollment will be coming up at the middle of May, and anticipated summer openings, plus everything that's going on in the town.
Michelle, a request came in on the 18th. Could we move that meeting up to 7 rather than 6?
I can ask.
Please do.
I will, we're actually, you and I are on there tomorrow with her,
Okay, good.
so we'll ask tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all I have. I'm done.
Thank you, short and sweet. Shannon, do you have anything to share with us this evening?
Yes, there's no longer isolation for, testing positive for COVID. So we're back to, if you're ill, you stay home. If you have a fever, you need to stay home for 24 hours. And that's without medication on board. You have to be fever-free without Tylenol or ibuprofen on board. And any vomiting, diarrhea, anything like that, gastrointestinal problems, you should be free of those symptoms 24 hours before return also.
Very good.
They're surveilling it as, the same way they surveil RSV and flu now. And the State Department of Education is in talks with the Department of Health to get some verbiage to send out. They're just kind of collaborating now, trying to get it, because the CDC changed everything last Friday. A week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to give an update on the elementary nurse?
Oh, yeah, we have a new elementary nurse. She started on Monday, last Monday. She's been here for a week. This is her second week. Her name is Erin Coulard. She comes to us from long-term care, but management. So she's got a lot of different skills that she has that I think will work well here.
And we want to thank Phil Axtell for actually hanging on and doing a nice transition and training of the new nurse, along with Shannon, of course, but it is nice to have someone be able to train you before you left, and he was very accommodating to us.
And now we have 2 subs because he's in the
I want to thank and for the Board of Ed, as I said at my little intro to the presentation the other night, all of the staff and all of the directors and admin for pulling double duty during this time. I mean, you guys are spread so thin in your own jobs, and then to take on additional responsibility, it's just incredible, your dedication. And I want you to know that we all notice it, we all know it, and we all appreciate it so much. All of you just go above and beyond. And we appreciate it very much. Thank you. Can't say it enough. Okay, last but not least.
I just want you to know that athletics starts with A.
And your point was
Z.
Because we saved the best for last.
So you want to be first
We had
next
a
time?
great winter season with basketball. Both teams, girls and boys, both made the state tournament. Which has not happened for the boys' side since 2009, and the girls were probably around the same time. The boys did make it to the second round and hit a buzzsaw with Summers. So, but they had a great season, and we had a lot of kids coming out and supporting the teams, which was great to see. We already had our spring meeting for the high school. The spring meeting for middle school is tomorrow night. We have full teams. We actually have a baseball team this year.
Woo-hoo.
Hey.
The rumors are not true.
What's that?
So the rumors are not true, because that's the big thing that I've been hearing is we're not having a baseball team again this year, and I keep,
We have.
I'm like, can we let Deb?
16 kids.
Perfect.
And we have softball, golf, and track. And middle school, we have a lot of middle schools for track, which is gonna be a problem because of our time frame up there.
Okay.
Softball and baseball, we have numbers also.
Perfect.
So we're good.
Very good.
And I have coaches. for all sports. I am looking for an assistant softball for middle school, Jess.
Assistant softball.
In your spare
Middle
time.
school.
Yeah.
In your spare time.
Oh, come on, you got time.
Let me just add another card to the deck of the house that's. It's, let me tell you, you missed the communication meeting, it was bad.
Don't let me know when you wanna come in and do your fingerprint.
Yeah.
Technically, I've already had them done from Girl Scouts, does that work?
No.
No,
No, you-
all right.
But it's okay.
She's
Do
got
it
her
right
own
here.
machine, yeah.
Oh, perfect,
minutes.
it'll save you so much time.
There you go. We're good, all set up. See you tomorrow.
You'll be seeing me tomorrow night, so.
We can present tomorrow night.
We just need.
Oh, that's it from
Jess. Like,
Okay.
All right. There we go. Ah, Any old business? I don't think so. Well, I do want to, you've got your money now for the. Let's report on that.
All right, you wanna report on the playground?
Yes.
All right, playground, we have. So, everybody's aware, we have been fundraising like crazy for the elementary school playground expansion project. I wanna make sure that that's abundantly clear. It is for a new playground piece. Up at the Blacktop Playground area, we had gotten preliminary quotes of approximately $150,000. Elementary playground has fundraised almost approximately 55,000. Melinda has secured approximately another 10,000 from a grant to do the repairs to the original playground that she has graciously worked with the grantors, right? Because we are the grantee, to allow us to use that towards our expansion project. And then we had also secured an $80,000 grant from the state of Connecticut. Planner finally received the paperwork for that on Monday. It only took the state 3 months to send it. I sat with her maybe that was last week. Yeah, I'm already a week behind. So I sat with her, as it turns out that the awardee was actually the town, so I didn't have to fill anything out, so that's a check on my end. So, at this point in time, I had been working with a couple of the members of the building committee, and they worked with the track vendor to try to dovetail the groundwork to make sure that if we could get that done in the same time frame, so that way we're not paying more. What's the name of the charges? Thank you, mobilization charges for equipment. They were able to get that agreement with the track vendor. So I've been kind of needling our state representatives on getting that paperwork because time is of the essence.
Yeah, because you're still $5,000 short.
I have $5,000 pending from Bank Hopetown. So I need to get them the documentation to release the rest of it. Because that's coming supposed to be at the end of this fiscal year. Technically, PTO has it in reserve so we can cover that additional 5,000. So at this point, that paperwork's been forwarded to the state for their review. We are going before the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. I would greatly appreciate any of y'all's support to ask to skip the bid process. The reason why we're asking to skip this is one, the state allowance that they're providing us is under $100,000. Two, time is of the essence. We'd like to be able to get it done in the same time frame as the track project. Those kids have been without a playscape area for more than long enough. And that is essentially where we are.
Okay, and you're looking into seeing if it's on state bid list, because that's a painless process.
So in speaking with the playground vendor, they specifically are not on the bid list. They are, however, a subcontract procurement company for a company that is on the state bid list. So Omina is on the bid list and they are eligible to use Compman as a state procurement vendor, if that makes sense. Does that? Thank you. So we've submitted our letter to the Board of Selectmen on Friday. We included all the previous playground project documentation, and I did get confirmation we are on their agenda for Tuesday.
Okay.
So the Bolte playground's happening. Should I put a plaque?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely.
And it was a lot of fun that.
Yeah. I know how to throw a party, that's for sure. Justin has a,
I do have an old business item.
Okay.
If you were. You good?
any other questions on the playground? Going once, going twice?
Turn it over.
All Justin.
Thank you. I asked this a couple months ago, but since Ms. Granado has now been in the role for a substitute role for a couple of months.
Yeah.
The cell phone issue and the vaping issue in the high school,
Sure.
how do we stand with that?
Yeah. Running along, so I will say that, you know, I run a tight ship. And, we've had some, are dealing with the, students who choose to vape on school grounds with the same, discipline, that, you know, so our suspension rate seems a little higher right now, but it's because we are working really hard to set a tone that we're not gonna accept this. And for the cell phones, the same, you know, so we,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
yeah, you know what, you're not, I don't mind at all answering, you know, there's so much good happening at the high school. And there's only a few, right, percentage wise, that seem to have a little struggle with following along with what the handbook states, so, calling parents in, having lots of meetings, and holding people accountable, so, that's.
I'm just, again, I'm trying to, we had a student concern 3 months ago, and I just wanted to make sure that.
A student had a concern?
Well, that was
Oh, yes.
the student
Oh,
leadership
oh,
had the concern about the cell phones
Yeah.
and the bathroom lockdown policy and all that. I think we got the update on the bathroom policy and that's sort of working out better. I was following up on that, so.
They're also implementing, and Heather didn't even speak about that.
Right.
That was just like a sidebar, but she did implement, a whole new software program.
Yeah,
Where students have to sign out to go to the bathroom, and then if they check and the bathroom's occupied because someone else has signed out, they're not allowed to go. And then in addition, there can be restrictions placed within the software that restricts some students pairing up friends going to the bathroom at the same time. So that meetup center is starting to dissipate because of the new program that they put in place. So
Using technology.
and that was a lot of work on the back end with Heather and actually the team at the high school, because you have to set it with all those restrictions, right? So it's a work in progress, but it's helped.
Can I ask, sorry, one more, can I ask for a formal update next month on the high school? On those issues,
do you,
just as part of your report, I just want to get it in the record,
absolutely,
please, thank you.
yeah, do you want specific numbers, or do you just want a general?
Just a general.
I would be curious to know how many suspensions.
Wanna know.
I,
No, I'm just.
yeah, I'm sure I don't, that's the problem.
But Kim, as far as since you've been up there,
Yeah,
vaping
well,
related suspensions have been around 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's, you know, it sounds a lot. But I think we have to set a tone. And, again, it's when it happens, it's been no surprise. You know, and we are working with those students to restore, because we certainly don't, it's an unhealthy thing. So we are working with Teague. You know, we're using our community partnership for the good. They're working with us. We are referring kids to juvenile review board. So that way they can get some restorative practices on vaping and have to go through some classes. So, you know, we are working with them.
Yeah,
We want them to change those That's a bad,
Yeah,
it's
have
a
it.
bad habit and kids don't understand today. You know, they live in the here and now, not realizing, so, you know, we just don't give out suspensions, but again, I think we have to set a tone. And so that way we can celebrate all the kids that are doing the right
The right
thing,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know?
I think if we can get that on the record next month for
Just-
what that's been done, what's been put in place, that'd be great. Thank you.
Are you getting like parental buy-in when you're having those conversations? Like, what's that response? I guess would be the.
So
You know, it starts
it's interesting.
at home, so
Yeah.
like, what's
so
that
I-
response that you're
You
getting?
know what, I would say it's variety.
Yeah,
I would say that, some parents are like, thank you, I knew that they were doing it. I had a parent today send us a picture of what they think is going on. So I have we have some very supportive parents. And then I've had a handful that said, and, you know, so. Oh, yeah, yeah, but they don't get it back. Maybe we could sell them and get money for the budget.
No,
Amazing.
it's against some law somewhere, I'm sure.
I know, I know.
Just a joke.
Just a joke, I
Well, Bill selling old
That's what
antique
happens
HVAC
when
parts,
it's
that's not.
you know,
I'm
tired.
sorry, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I just had a comment, that the detectors work very well in the bathroom. My daughter had an instance where she wasn't vaping, but had requested Febreze get sprayed. And it set off the detector and her and her friend had to go down to the office and it all got worked out, but they do work and Febreze
They
will
do
set them
work,
off.
and I will tell you that, since the beginning, the last couple of weeks have been much better. So I think, you know, we're doing the right things.
And it's not Shawshank.
Right,
We're gonna
I
get that on
mean,
the record.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
oh, I didn't.
I'm sorry, it's 9:15. Plan that a little earlier. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome, anytime.
All right. No new business. And I have no correspondence. Anybody else have correspondence? Citizens' comments? Trish has your side? Trish, you
Hi.
have-
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to chime in about the cereal challenge that I've heard you talk about all night. We did meet goal of 2024 boxes. And
I have more.
we are still counting and still accepting through tomorrow morning, but we have surpassed our 2024 goal. And we have 40 students that are gonna be setting up all those boxes all morning as fast as we can. And we're inviting you once again as the Board of Ed. And Amy has left the meeting, but Board of Selectmen. And then we have the locals who have been out in the community really pushing for us, also invited to attend. So hope to see you guys in the morning.
Gary O will be tipping the first box.
what time does that start?
9:30.
9:30, the first box goes off.
Yep.
I can be here.
I have a meeting. I cannot stay.
Yeah, I have a. I'm in at 1, but I think it's good for 9:30. What's up? I wish I had last year. You were here. All right, cereal challenge goes off at 9:30. Lots of fun to watch. And your husband. Okay. On that note, I'll.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.